The SEC has proposed a new best execution standard. We should all agree on best execution, but we've already got a best execution standard. So Joe, what do you make of this idea?
Yeah, and I think that's the main point, is best execution is hugely important. There are extensive rules that have been evolving for the last few decades. We all take them very seriously and have them very embedded in everything that we do. What we're raising is why there's the need for a brand new rule that is in conflict in some cases to existing rules, and specifically, there's no acknowledgement in the proposed rule about the benefits that exist in today's world. And we are significantly worried that some of the very prescriptive rulemaking in the new best execution proposal will actually potentially result again in a worse experience for investors than they have today, which is quite ironic for a best execution rule.
So how could it make it worse?
Our markets are very complex. There's over 50 venues to access liquidity. People use their own capital to enhance the experience of investors, and that flexibility has been part of what's made our markets so good. Taking that flexibility away is certainly something that a lot of people believe would be negative for the investor experience.
I just want to pick up on that. Broker-dealers across the marketplace have competed and innovated to develop the smart order router technology that allows them to dynamically figure out which market centers orders should be routed to in order to get the best execution outcome. The prescriptive nature of what we've seen in this proposal could eliminate one's ability to use smart order routers, because instead they say you need to have effectively a dumb order router that says ahead of time, this is the order in which I'm going to seek liquidity on different venues. So we think that will result in a worse outcome, not a better outcome for investors. Yeah, and again, we've seen comments from a lot of the large mutual funds, pension funds, et cetera, saying that that aspect of the best execution rule, does not work for them and is going to impair their ability to access the markets in the way they need to do most efficiently.
Now, Stephen, you work across all the asset classes we trade. This is the one proposal that gets outside of equity market structure and touches other asset classes as well. Can this work as one blanket rule across various different assets?
It's notable that that's an area where we've seen a lot of concern expressed by particularly the institutional investor community, but a lot of the banks and broker-dealers as well. This proposal, as you noted, affects not just equities, but options, municipal bonds, corporate bonds, U.S. Treasuries, and sort of the one-size-fits-all approach may not work well across all those different markets that have very different market structures.
So Joe, given all of that, what do you think the intention is behind that?
Yeah, there's probably a few different drivers behind it, but there's a very specific component of the best execution proposal which deals with what's defined now as conflicted transactions. And the end intent of that, by introducing some fairly onerous and unworkable requirements, is it would take a lot of transactions that happen now off exchange with wholesalers and market makers and put them back on exchange without regard to whether that actually makes the investor experience better or not. And I think that illustrates to us that really the goal here is trying to force an outcome, not necessarily determine what's in the best interest of investors. And I think that's pervasive through a lot of these different proposals.
So Stephen, you mentioned a more prescriptive approach to best execution. How does that fit with the other proposal, which says retail orders should go to an auction unless they can be executed at midpoint? Can those two ideas coexist?
Yeah, it's another example of how the proposals could and do contradict each other. So the auction proposal says these types of retail investor orders have to go to this single auction mechanism, even if you find that that's not what's going to secure best execution for a customer under the best execution rule. So a broker-dealer in that instance is left with choosing which of the two rules to violate.
Joe, look, we and others, obviously do well under the current structure. How much of the pushback from us or from others is about protecting the status quo, protecting your bottom line, versus really trying to see the markets move forward?
This is not about what's good for us. This is really about what's best for markets, and especially retail investors and institutional investors. We think the hallmark of a healthy market system and what has differentiated the U.S. market globally is the fact that we do produce such a good experience for all types of investors. And it's not clear why we would change things that introduced a lot of uncertainty and risk into what is a highly functioning market.